Hello and welcome
to the Chaos, Courage and Creativity Podcast.
I'm Nicola Jayne-Little.
And I'm Ashleigh King.
And we're here to talk about celebrating difference.
And our superpowers.
Well, I've got ADHD.
Well, I do too.
Who knew?
Well, exactly. What are the chances?
Quite an awful lot, actually. So we're here to celebrate and share our journey.
For sure. And entertain and laugh with each other.
And laugh at ourselves, probably.
Very true.
Very true. So are you ready to go, Ash?
I am. Let's do this.
Let's do this.
Hello.
Hello, I like the little tune we have, Mrs. Like, I love that. I'm like dancing about in the background.
I love it too. It's a good way to get started. I think it makes you feel warm and fuzzy and like, hey, we're going to go live in 3, 2, 1. We're here.
Right, okay, so hi, here we are for Chaos. Courage number 2, Ash.
I know. And so this is crazy. So we did one just to kind of see how it would go. And then we're back and we're doing it again. And I think we'll probably do it again and again and again.
I think every fortnight, did we say? So maybe next time it's going to be our Christmassy. We're going to get dressed up next time, right? Like, how did 2 girls with ADHD celebrate Christmas? How much chaos can we wear?
I think that's a challenge. I can see lots of glitter and baubles and all sorts. I'm very excited about that, actually. Wow, I was not expecting Christmas stuff yet, especially since you posted about that the other day saying you were not into Christmas just yet.
I love Christmas. I think the trouble is I love Christmas, just not on November the 2nd, right? So it's like, what is going on? This year I'm really confused. My brain doesn't cope with Christmas before the 1st of December. And I know why everybody's doing it, but I'm like, oh my gosh, look at all of this already. I'm confused, man. So anyway, can I ask you, how are you since we last saw each other a fortnight ago? We've done some stuff, haven't we? We've got chaos. Now, I'm going to forget the way it goes, right? Chaos, courage, creativity. We have some branding coming, haven't we? We have some actual branding.
We do. We had an awesome time on Friday. We went to the podcast studio, which I haven't been in for yonks, and that was awesome. We had some snaps taken. We had some really funny poses for chaos and courage and creativity. So those are being edited as we speak by our amazing sponsor, Paul Scurry from Blind Sea Photos. So fingers crossed, we're going to have some cool colors and things coming through that will not only celebrate diversity and difference, but just really inspire and uplift people. And it's a way for us to like give our personality out with the world. So very exciting. I think it was a really interesting episode last time, and I think we got some great feedback from that. Lots of nice new messages again, people responding saying, hey, ADHD, oh my gosh, I think I might have it. Or, hey, thanks for sharing your story. So I think this is pretty powerful to put yourself out there, even though it's scary.
How tired were we both, though? We were absolutely shattered, weren't we? The day after, I had to lie down for like hours. I was doing this stuff. I'm always happy to stand at the front. One of my ADHD superpowers is give me a room with 200 people in, and I love it. But it was so intimate for us the first time we did this, and I was absolutely shattered, like completely and utterly wiped out, just wiped out. So we're going to try and stick to time. Hey, are we going to have a go? But tonight, we're going to celebrate. We've got a really cool guest for you, but we are here to celebrate difference. That's what this podcast, if you didn't catch us last time, Ash and I both have been diagnosed with ADHD, quite close together, and we wanted to just start talking about it. But it's not just that, it's anything that is maybe could be considered different, right? So we want to get loads of guests on, we want to celebrate difference and celebrate difference and celebrate difference. And so, this idea of chaos, courage, and creativity, I think Ash and I would both admit we live in a world of chaos in our heads. I think it takes a lot of courage to speak out about stuff. But how creative are we, actually? Just how creative? And those people that we know that have maybe something that could be considered hidden, and yet they're some of the most creative people we know, aren't they?
Yeah, absolutely. And I think it's one of the craziest things is how can this crazy chaos turn into just the most beautiful colors and spectrum of shadows, light and dark. I love it. Speaking of chaos, actually, we have a really great guest tonight. I'm so excited to introduce the listeners to her. So tonight we're going to be joined by Cici. So Cici's actually born in the States. She'll be able to go through all of her journey with you, but the reason I like Cici is because she is like this little powerhouse of just, I find her so inspiring. Her story is incredible. She's gone through a lot. We're going to talk about, we mentioned mental health tonight and neurological difference. We're talking about PTSD tonight. So for those who don't know what that is, it's post-traumatic stress disorder. We're going to talk about grief. We're going to talk about addiction, the relationship between those things. So there's a whole host of stuff we're going to talk about. It's worth saying, guys, before we bring Cici on, some people might find this conversation a little bit triggering. And I think it's worth saying we are not practitioners. We've said this before. So I'm going to put our disclaimer up. We are sharing our own thoughts and experiences, and we are experts in our own life experiences and our own chaos. So also, if you do feel that you need it, we have a trigger warning. We will be talking about domestic violence, addiction, all kinds of things. If this conversation does upset you, we will be giving you some support links later in the conversation and also in the Facebook description. So all of that, I just need to say just to protect ourselves, that's important, and to protect listeners. But I want to bring this amazing, amazing guest with you on the call. So if we can bring Cici in now, I'm going to do that. Woo! Hi, Cici.
Hello. What an introduction.
Yeah, we had to just get that out, I think. How are you tonight?
I'm doing good. I just necked a coffee so I can be at your level.
That's the thing about stimulants, right? I love that you've done that. That really made me smile, actually. It's really funny, actually, because we're all on different levels wherever we are in our life, whatever we're doing. So that's made me smile. And thank you so much for joining us. And, you've got such an incredible story and you're doing such cool stuff. So I know that Nick and I are the biggest chatterboxes, which is why we started this. But I'm just going to tape my mouth for a sec so we can hear about you. So can we hear, you've got such a big story, but could you tell us a little bit, you're from the States, you're in the UK now, so maybe, how you got to where you are now and just explore what you want to say, and then we can pick up some pieces when you finish sharing that intro stuff.
Sure. Okay. So yeah, I was born in a really small town in Virginia and kind of spent my summers in Carolina, and all my family is there now. So I very much identify as Southern. It's very important to me. And I moved here to Newcastle 3 years ago. I met my husband. We were friends actually back in the MySpace days. And we're friends for years and years and years. I know I'm aging myself. And then we ended up just kind of getting together and doing the long distance thing for a while, and then moved over. And now I have a little puppy named Harley who's 1.5 years old, and I'm obsessed with her. And I make no apologies for that. And I started a business over here, an estate planning business, and now I'm doing something else with my writing, which is my passion and something I'm really excited about. So, life is really weird and really crazy. I suppose the biggest sort of things that happened in my life, to relate it back to neurodiversity and stuff. I have complex PTSD, and when I must have been 16 when I got diagnosed, but I got diagnosed with regular PTSD and borderline personality disorder, which is a thing that happens a lot because they sort of the symptoms mirror each other in any ways. But basically what had happened to get me to that point was that a whole lot of big things in my life happened in rapid succession. So my dad was an alcoholic and my parents had like been divorced. And then I started drinking when I was like 14 as just a way to sort of cope with life. But sort of in between those things, my uncle, who was a youth pastor at the local church, and was like a really prominent member of the community, and where my dad failed, he flew. So he was like really important to me, and he passed away very suddenly. And that was really hard. And then my dad tried to kill himself like a couple weeks after that. And then my mom got diagnosed with a terminal illness. In the States, it's ALS. Here, it's MND, motor neuron disease. I don't know why they have different names for it in different countries. It doesn't really make very much sense to me, but anyways, that's what it is. And then she got married and then pregnant, but she wasn't supposed to be able to get pregnant. And then she like went into the hospital, and then she had the baby, and then the baby was in the hospital, and then she came home, and my stepdad and I didn't really get along very well at the time. And anyways, it was just a lot. And I was a teenager, and so like on top of all the regular teenagery stuff was then like all this extra noise, and I had no idea how to deal with it at all. My family was always very like perfect on the outside kind of thing. It was like my dad and his blonde wife and daughters, and he was he was in financial services and whatever. And anyways, and it looked very nice from the outside, little girls in private school and the whole nine. But it was like, it was not like that on the inside. It was a nightmare. But because of that, that's what I learned to emulate, was like put on a happy face, pretend that everything is fine, and internalize everything. So I had no way to like process all of these things that were happening to me. So then I just drank instead. And then it kind of helped, I suppose, to say like, oh, you have PTSD. Like a lot of stuff has happened to you, and so your brain is doing a thing. And you're like, oh, okay. But at 16, that doesn't really mean very much to me. Like, that's not really helpful. Like, it's good to know what it is, but like, I just don't want to feel like this anymore. So then I just drank instead. And then I just did that for a decade, give or take. And then I tried to get sober for like a year. I was in and out of like 12-step programs and things like that. And I'd get like 30 days. And then I drank, and then I'd get like 24 hours, and then I drank, and then I think I got 90 days at one point, and then like called my friend and went and got drunk to celebrate. It was like I couldn't let go of that part of me, because as soon as I wasn't drinking, then I was feeling, and I had no idea how to cope with that. I didn't even have names for my emotions really when I felt them. I would feel things and have no idea how to recognize what it was. So I was doing the back and forth thing with my husband, and he invited me to stay over here in the UK for 6 months to kind of as like a test the waters, see if I could move here permanently kind of thing, rather than just like getting married and jumping in. I was like, I think I'd spent all of like a week in Newcastle, maybe not even that. So I'm like, I just want to try. And I love Newcastle, and it was great. Obviously it worked out, but I got off the plane, I don't know, a couple weeks sober, like white knuckling it. I don't think I had been to a meeting, or maybe I had been to a couple. It's all like a blur. And then we just holed up in the flat for like 2 weeks and watched Breaking Bad, and just hung out and like ate pizza on the floor. And it was, it was great. But I was scared to leave. I was scared because I was like overwhelmed from everything that I was feeling and everything that was going on. I was like, the homesickness was really strong. I was so like violently back and forth. Like, did I make the right decision? Like, I was just questioning everything. And I was like, I just knew that if I was going to get the opportunity to have a fresh start in a new country with a person that I really loved, who really loved me, then I just needed to make it work. Like, I just felt like it was sort of now or never. So I went online and I found a meeting around the corner, and I went to it. And then I met a lady there, and she was like, oh, there's a women's meeting. in Jesmond. And I was like, I don't know where Jesmond is. And she was like, right, if you can get the metro to this place, then I'll pick you up and then I'll take you there. And I was like, yes, okay. And so then I got in this random stranger's car, and and then I went to that meeting and I got people's phone numbers, and then I started calling them. And then my husband got me a phone to have over here, which was really helpful. Then I could like text people and call people and not just use the landline like it was in 1992. And yeah, it was great. Like I actually started to do the things to connect with people who understood what I felt like, and to really be honest, finally, for the first time, about how I was feeling, or if I didn't know how I was feeling, to just be honest about that. And, you know, to be fair, like maybe I shared a little bit too much. I think like I didn't really understand how to put boundaries and things in place then, the way I do now. Now I don't share things unless I've like healed from them. But, you know, recovery is a little bit different, and that was my path and what I did, and it's worked out. I'll be 5 years sober on January 1st, one day at a time and all that. Not counting any chickens, but yeah. Thank you. So yeah, I think you know, I've just sort of tried to stick with it and do those things that I did, and anyways, it's led me here, which is pretty great. So yeah. Long story long.
I have to say, there are not very many people who leave me speechless. But I'm speechless. Like the fact that you are here smiling and sharing is enough for me, full stop. I just, you know, I don't even know where to start. Ashleigh, you're going to have to start, because that story, that stuff, that list, that teenageness. I mean, it was hard enough being like a teenager without all of that stuff, and here you are, to then go move it to another country, to then be sober for nearly 5 years. I mean, the list, you are extraordinary, lads. Like, you are extraordinary.
Thank you.
You know, so I've got proper goosebumps, so I'm not just going to go on like this, but I've got proper... your story and the fact that you're sitting there smiling and able to share it with us, because that is extraordinary. So, Ashleigh, rather than me just blethering on, have you got some actual questions here, or can I just fan crush in just for the next half an hour? Like, I just don't even know what to say.
You can always fangirl. So I have so many questions, and I think it's great to see the comments coming in already. You know, sometimes you get comments, sometimes you don't, but we've got people straight in like, Cici, you are awesome, you are amazing, you are inspiring. And I think as well, the bravery of just sharing that, you know, when you have a story to share, sometimes it feels like you know it so well, so people already know it and you don't really want to bug them, and then like you tell it and people are like, hey, did you know like how cool you are? How great. And I know for a fact that you will be thinking that like, I'm just Cici, like I'm just who I am. But I have so many questions for you, so I do want to pick up on some stuff that I'm just curious about. So I'd like to ask as well, you know, we talked about you mentioned there about diagnosis. So being, you know, a teenager, getting diagnosed with PTSD, which you absolutely had loads of stuff going on, and that must have been challenging. But then you also had borderline personality disorder. Now, this is something you were diagnosed with, and then later it became complex PTSD. So they actually reassessed that, right? And this is something I wanted to ask you about, because I think a lot of women, from what I've read, and for myself as well, I also have complex PTSD and also was misdiagnosed as borderline at one point. And the name borderline personality disorder, for some people, it's actually quite a harmful label. Obviously, again, we're saying here, we are talking about our own experiences. We're not practitioners. But I think there's a lot of stigma that comes with particular labels and particular illnesses, and the challenge of being diagnosed and going through that, and also being young and not really knowing how to get your head around all of this. And then you just get this label and it's like, thanks for that. What do I do with it? How did you cope?
Listen, my complex for borderline personality disorder was Girl Interrupted. like, I don't know if you've seen that movie or read that book, but like Susanna and all of them, and they're like, even she, like, just having borderline was like the odd one out. It was like, oh, she thinks she's hot because she's a sociopath. Like, it was like, I had no frame of reference. Like, I didn't even understand that was really like a thing. Again, it was almost like meaningless. And it wasn't until I got a little bit older and started to be like, okay, maybe I'll just kind of like explore what this is a little bit, because it was sort of like I got the diagnosis and then just like ignored it, which is not great. But I was young, and with everything going on with my mom, it was like not the most important thing. But I definitely felt like that stigma around it. And it wasn't until I really got sober and got older that I was like, right, more things have happened to me now because I was in like an abusive relationship in the middle of that I didn't mention for like 7 years. So more things and more abuse had happened. And it wasn't until I was out of that relationship and explored that a couple of years later that I actually realized the extent of the abuse that had happened, which I'm not going to go into specifics as not necessary. But anyways, so that's what sort of led me to say, like, I actually want to like learn about this a little bit more, explore this a little bit further, and figure out exactly like what this is. But the misunderstanding and the stigma around it was definitely difficult. There's the same thing around like PTSD because people think it's just soldiers and stuff.
Yeah, actually, we had this conversation a couple of weeks ago, Cici and I. We were talking about the complex around PTSD, where people think you're just angry and that's what it is. But for women, and this is similar with ADHD as well, actually very different symptoms, but we internalize things and we don't ask for help and we mask things a lot. And actually, it means that you just think there's something wrong with you, but you don't know. For instance, you mentioned before, having boundaries can be hard because your boundaries have been broken by trauma or whatever's happened. So to be able to actually articulate what you need to keep you safe and feel valued, that is such a learning curve. And as well, what you were saying there around, you mentioned about trauma and this abusive relationship you were in. I think sometimes if you've gone through trauma, whatever it might be, you have child trauma, very different kinds of trauma. But for instance, sometimes we try and recreate that trauma. We will be attracted to people who are bad for us, friendships that are bad for us, toxic relationships, the wrong partners, work or entrepreneurial projects that aren't a good match. There are so many things we can do to kind of recreate that trauma because for many people, if you've been in trauma, that's where you feel safe. And it's a hard thing to get your head around if you've not experienced that, right?
Yeah, it's really strange to feel like like you need to recreate the trauma to feel like. I remember, like, I definitely remember I couldn't like articulate that, but like when I got sober and I was living here with my husband and everything like that. I mean, like, I was in the process of getting sober, but I had like a few months, which is it's so hard then. Like, it takes so much time. But so I was like suddenly feeling all these emotions for the first time and like trying to like understand what I was feeling and also trying to adjust to being in a new place and all of these different things. But Sai, my husband, is so like lovely and sweet and wonderful, and would just be like, do you want to like repaint the bedroom? Like, do you want to do something? And I'd be like, okay, sure. And he'd be like, do you want to do this color? And I'd be like, uh-huh. And he'd be like, do you want to have this for dinner? And I'd be like, uh-huh. Because it was just like, you're so nice. I don't know what to do. Like, this doesn't feel. And I remember one time we were making Mexican food because I love Mexican food, and UK Mexican is just like, it ain't it. So we were making it, and he wanted to like hand make tortillas, which is so like such a pain in the butt to do, like so difficult. And I went into the bathroom and like cried because I couldn't articulate that, like, can we just buy the tortillas? Can we buy the tortillas? Do we have to make them? And it was just like so much. And it was like, there's flour on the kitchen counter, and it all just felt so completely overwhelming, but I didn't know how to articulate that. And I also didn't understand that it was like, oh, you're like having this fun thing in the kitchen with your partner, and you could like say how you felt. It's like, who says how they feel? What is that? Like, absolutely not. Did not even occur to me. I like texted my Mima and I was like, I'm crying. And she was like, why don't you just tell him? And I was like, oh, it never occurred to me.
Oh, that's such a beautiful story that you've expressed it. And I know I relate with it. And actually, I'm just trying to think who said that a few minutes ago. Jade mentioned she can relate with this as well. This idea of not knowing what to do with the niceness. Nicola, have you experienced that? I mean, have you been in that situation where you're just like, oh my gosh?
So my first was 12, didn't work. And then you meet somebody who is nice to you, and there is a feeling of that in that you don't deserve someone to be nice to you, because what you're used to is chaos for 12 years of chaos in my experience. And to have someone who, let's for example, doesn't shout at you because you haven't washed the dishes and you're standing there waiting to be shouted at, it is such I can't explain it properly. I can't articulate. And I'm still, 8 years later, there are still moments where if someone is kind to me, I have got no idea how to deal with that at all, because I was so used to the opposite of that, so, but, that's not just in my married life now, that's outside that, because you are used to, or it is so traumatic that all you're used to is that. And I understand that you go out and search for that, because that, if that's your norm, we search for that. And I think with the ADHD stuff, you are creating chaos all the time because you're always on a cliff edge, because that's when you're most awake and that's when the adrenaline is flowing. And if things are absolutely rocking and rolling bad, that's when we function, So yes, it is a really difficult thing to start accepting that someone actually loves you for who you are and is just going to be nice, and it's not pretense. But then there's so much that we can all relate to. So I've been writing all this stuff down. When you're crying because you can't articulate something, oh my gosh, like every week, every other day, every whatever that was, and how my life used to be, where you're having a breakdown, an absolute DEFCON 1 meltdown over that little thing over there that nobody would even notice, right?
Yep.
And it's just, there's so many things that, I don't know, we can relate to what you're saying. It is so relatable, your story. Maybe not massive parts of it and the traumas that you've been through, but how we all deal with stuff, because this is what it comes down to, isn't it? How do we deal? How do we sort that out? Who do we need? Who do we go to? Where do we find that support? Who is that person? That one person who makes it so different that you have to behave differently, that at that moment. Well, what was your moment, right? So you said when you got off the plane, you came here and you knew you just had to give it a go. Was it coming here and your husband, he was husband to be? Was it earlier, or where was that thing that just made you go, nah, I really want to do this thing?
I think it was the morning I woke up after the last time that I got super wasted, which was New Year's Eve. What would it would have been New Year's Eve, because so 2015,
5 years ago,
yeah. And I woke up in the morning at a family member's house and could not remember, I don't know, like the last half of the night. Didn't know how I got there, did not have my phone or my bag or anything. And I was like, all right. Not that that's the first time that had happened, mind. It happened loads of other times. It's not like that was the first time and I was like, oh, right, this is bad. Like, no, loads of times. And meanwhile, this is during the time that I'm like still trying to get like, you know, getting a little bit of time and kind of going back and whatever. But I had gone to this party that I wasn't even invited to, and like I don't know I don't know like what I did or how I behaved or whatever. I reckon everything was sort of all right, but I had like left my bag there. Anyways, it was just like not great, and I had woken up and I didn't know what time it was, and I went downstairs and I woke up my family member and was like, "Where is my stuff?" And she was like, "I don't know. Like, we just got dropped off here. Like, I don't know. It's like really early in the morning, go back to sleep." And I was like, okay. Full panic, like anxiety, crazy through the roof. And I just sort of like laid there until I heard that person messing around in the kitchen. And then I went downstairs and we sat on the porch and she was like, what are you doing? And I was like, I don't know. I don't know what I'm doing. My best. I don't know. And it was just like the shame and just the panic, and it was, you know, I was just like, I'm really just sort of done. I had already had my like flight booked to come over here. Like I knew, you know, I knew what was going to happen. I was like, if I keep going, like I know what's going to happen. My dad's an alcoholic. Like I've seen it a million times. I guess it was then. It was it was probably going up to that person's house that I had gone to her party, which was like a really nice party, like black tie that I was not invited to, that I like totally crashed and then left my stuff there, and having to knock on her door really early in the morning and be like, "Thank you so much," and her like closing the door really abruptly in my face and just being as nice as possible. And I was just like, I would rather not feel like this ever again.
Yeah.
So, and I did have to feel like that more times because I had to work through all this stuff. But I got to feel good things too. And that was the difference is when I was like drinking, I never got to feel anything at all. And then I only felt bad stuff, so that I had to drink to cope with that. And it wasn't until I was able to like get sober that I was able to feel like good stuff too, like joy and love.
Ash put Spy's message up. Also, I'm just about to cry reading it. Soft as cloths I am, but we've got to try your husband's cooking when we're allowed, because you know, right? You are now telling us how he can actually cook. So never mind all of this, right? Crying because he's cooking business. You are now cooking for us, right? And you are very welcome. Cici needs to be able to share this story. People need to hear it. That's why we're doing this. People need to hear stories. Stories are so, so powerful. And there will be someone who listens to this tonight who takes action because of you sharing your story. I know that. I absolutely know that 100%. And that then makes us maybe better people than we thought we were in the past, at those moments when you're so drunk that you can't remember and you have no idea what you've done and you wake up the next morning feeling like a car crash. You know, we aren't bad people. We may have done stuff that's not great, and for that we all we hold our hands up. But if there are people who can be inspired by you sharing your story right now, you know, we're not as bad as we thought we were, right? And that's part of this journey. But someone tonight will take action because of you sharing this story. And isn't that just perfect? That has to be some good that comes out of all of this, right? And the fact that you are this brave, share it the way you're sharing it and just being so honest, it's just inspirational, honestly.
Thanks. Well, that's like the only reason, really. Like, it's just to hopefully help somebody else.
Well, of course. So tell us about you at work now, because this is you doing this, and this is, correct me if I'm wrong, this is what you do for a living now, right? You help others, don't you?
Yeah, so I'm just launching Write to Heal, WRITE. It's like a pun. It's like a writing thing. And like, anyways, I get a kick out of it. But so I'm launching that. It's a community for survivors of addiction, abuse, and trauma to heal through writing, because I'm a writer. I'm a poet. I've been writing for my whole life. I just like released a poetry book finally, and which I should have done a long time ago, but anyways, I finally did it. Oh, Jade.
Love that, Jade. Thank you. Excellent.
Yeah, so I'm doing a workshop which starts actually on Monday the 30th of November, and it's about journaling and writing and things like that. So it's 5 days, and we're gonna do different journaling things, and people have been like really receptive, and there's loads of people in there. Get more people in there every single day, and it's so like humbling and so incredible. But writing is something that I've always done, and I've been sharing my writing, like poetry, mostly publicly since like 2012, and never never made a dime off of it or anything like that. I just sort of like, it's just my thing. And then I decided to start Write to Heal like a few months ago, and have been working on it behind the scenes. But yeah, so I'm doing the journaling workshop, and then I'll launch the membership December 4th, for like the actual community for all the things. And I'm so excited. It's like the coolest thing ever.
It sounds amazing. I mean, I want to join that actually. I think it's so powerful to have an opportunity to heal, but through community and working through things with others. And, Jade said it, some of the other members of the people listening and watching tonight have talked about different things. And you shared as well there about, actual experiences where you've done something and you're like, what did I do that for? I mean, one of the things you said there that made me laugh, because I related so much, is like, celebrating, going out and getting really drunk. The fact that you'd had like, how many years was it sober, or how many months was it?
It was 3 months. I had 90 days.
90 days sober. Woohoo! Let's go get drunk. And This is the thing. Until you're ready, it's really hard to break the patterns, right? And I think this is really something that I wanted to touch on, and hopefully this will help people as well. But you mentioned as well, Cici, this experience of wanting to be perfect, wanting to have you had a great dad, worked in financial services, he had the perfect blonde wife, the gorgeous daughters, and the Southern girl wanting to just fit in and be great and be a perfect family, and it's the chaos underneath. So many of us are wanting to put out this beautiful feeling out there that we're successful, we are smart, we are all these things, we've got a great house, blah, blah, blah. And actually underneath, we do what we need to do to just cope. And for anyone listening, for Jade, who said, we weren't bad people, we were just trying to get better. You cope with what you have at the time. You can't, some of whatever has happened, we didn't always have the tools that we needed yet. And I think that's something that is really powerful in forgiveness and that healing journey is, it is something that you can just grow through. And this is why community is so important. I mean, I'd like to ask you, you are now launching a community and you've had a terrific response. But how did you find, was community essential to your growth? Did it help you in your recovery?
Yeah, it was the only thing that helped, because because I tried a year just like showing up, just like I'm here and then leaving. And that's all. And it wasn't until I actually started connecting. I don't necessarily, you don't need to get in random cars with people that you've only met one time, but you can call people and you can have coffees with people. And it wasn't until I started to do that and to make the effort to try to build relationships with people that I started to get well at all. You know what I mean? I could not drink. Sure. I could do that, but not for any length of time. Not really. And there's a difference between just abstaining and healing. I think I can't remember the name of the guy who said it, but the opposite of addiction isn't sobriety, it's connection. And like, I 100% believe that. The guy who talked about Rat Park in that TED Talk.
Yes, I know what you mean. If anyone's listening and knows what we're talking about, please tell us. Actually, Cici,
I'm trying to think because I know, but I can't remember. Oh, right.
Exactly. Cici, do you want to share a bit about Rat Park? So we had this great conversation the other day, but I mean, if you have a neurological difference, or if you have PTSD, or there's some part of your brain that isn't quite connecting right, dopamine is a struggle, right? So that easy, quick fix, or for us with PTSD, it's, cortisol and serotonin. There's just not the right mix that there should be. Do you want to share a bit about Rat Park? Because I know we had some funny chats about that offline.
Yeah. So I love this. So like, to summarize, basically they did this study, and there was like these rats, and they put like a rat in isolation and give him 2 different water bottles, and one water bottle had cocaine in it and one water bottle didn't. And the rat in isolation would typically go to the cocaine water bottle and usually OD relatively quickly. And the rats that were in a cage with other rats and all this like fun stuff to do, hence Rat Park, would not really go. They wouldn't go to the water bottle that had cocaine in it. They would just drink their regular water and like run around and play with their little rat friends and live their little rat lives and be happy. Like, this is the difference. And you're on your own. You go for the thing, the quick fix that makes you happy. You connect with other people and do other like constructive, fun, whatever things. Then you don't need the cocaine water bottle.
I love that.
It's like a very crude summary, but anyways.
But it's a great experiment, because it just goes to show how important connection is, how important habits and activities and fun stuff, those things can really help us. One of the things that really helped me with some of the things going through this, like understanding PTSD and trauma, is a lot of people have like an ordinary line, and there's like the base level, and it might be someone might have like a glass of wine, and they've had a bit of a bad day, so they have a glass of wine and it makes them feel good, but they might go slightly up. Maybe they have that extra coffee to get that stimulation or whatever it is, but then they'll, I don't know, they'll just chill. They maybe eat too many Doritos or whatever, but like that's their kind of level of self-harm. Whereas if you have PTSD or other challenges sometimes, and you're coping and you're masking, it could be that you're going to drink a whole bottle of gin or a whole bottle of wine or whatever it is. Everyone has different levels of things they do. It might be that you go and spend money on online shopping, whatever you need to do to kind of cause that chaos to then get that hit. And then it is addictive. It's like you mentioned, the adrenaline rush of that it really can be like a roller coaster, and it can be addictive. So reaching out and actually expressing, whoa, I'm struggling with this, that can be the scariest thing. So like, I think for anyone listening tonight, I mean, I'm so proud of you that you've been through this journey, but you're also so brave to share it with us. I mean, honestly, I love it. I can't say how much I identified with the experience of waking up in someone's house and going, I did what? Like that. Oh.
Yeah, I think so many people go through that and they just don't say, because it is like shameful or embarrassing or whatever. But like, addiction is a disease, and it is what it is. Like,
that's it. Addiction is a disease, and that will do for that sentence, because it is a disease. Addiction is a disease, and if we just try and flower it up in any other way and label it any other, that's what it is, and it is what it is.
And so is every other mental illness. It's a disease. It's not a choice. It's like,
I think that if the whole just try, or why don't you try this, or why don't you go off and do a bit of this and that and the other. Whilst everybody who says that stuff, that they're so unmeaning, obviously, and it's always comes from, a place of love normally, why don't you, have you tried this? At the end of the day, until you're ready, or until you've had that moment, that thing. That's why I have a very specific thing. My niece was born, and that moment changed my life, right? So I had to change where I was at, right? And because she came, because we had her, I needed to change my life, so I did. But I see people have a thing, a moment, a realization, and you might not fix it right then and there, but that moment is the thing that starts the start of the fixing. So you might fail another couple of times, you're still going to get drunk a while, but once you've had that moment, for me, and that's what I see is, and I hear it with you and I hear it with Ash, you have a moment and you're just like, that's the start of trying to fix this. I'm not going to do it perfectly. And it is day by day, exactly what you said, it's day by day, but there is a start when we want to get better, we want to understand more. We were old enough, because you were so young when you got your diagnosis, almost as if it made no difference, because you just, like you said, you just ignored it, but you were too young and you didn't have that support then to understand what to do with that knowledge. But we live our lives, don't we? And we are where we are, and we choose to get where we are, and you made a choice to fix some of this stuff, your choice. And that's what I'm proud of, is that you chose to get well as well as you can in all of the constraints that you've got. It was your choice. And that's the powerful bit, that we do, no matter what, have choices. We have choices, and it's up to us and the people who love us to help us work that out. But essentially, we have to work it out as well. We have to work it out what our choice is and the path that we want to take, isn't it? And yours is just like, here you are starting this business to help other people heal. And how cool is that? I would like you to drop in your URLs, your social handles. This is me in business. I'm sorry. We weren't going to mix this up, but I need your social handles, your business, the cost of the course. I need you to share it into my communities as well, because I know people will want to do this with you. I know some people who will want to do this with you. So just blatantly right now, because I'm aware it's nearly 10 to, blatantly sell it right now. If you don't know how to sell, I've got some people who can do that, and I can help train you with that. But blatantly sell it. Go, lads, because there are people listening.
Well, you sell it, Cici, and I will write your links.
Okay, that's great. Teamwork.
We want to know, how do we get involved with Right to Heal?
Okay, well, if you go to Right to Heal, WRITE to heal.me, then that will just take you to the sort of page that kind of gives you more information about what it's about. Yeah. If you want to take part in my free workshop, it's hosted in a private Facebook group. So if you just type Journal to Heal workshop in Facebook, then that will take you to it, or you can just go to my profile and click on the little linky do in there, and that will take you to it. And then there's a link in the description that you just need to hit and just put in your name and email address and stuff, so I can send you the task reminders and things to sign up for that. But basically, the community itself is, there's a few different things. I'm having guest experts in there, like therapists, sober coaches in there, an emotional eating coach, a few different things. So there's guest experts, their stuff is in there that you can access. Obviously, I'll have them come and speak in the group as well. Then there's writing tips. So basic things like the difference between there, and there, and is with and without an apostrophe, and how all of these things, your and your, all of that stuff. So the basics in there, as well as my poetry and other poetry and writing prompts and all sorts of different things. We're going to have, there'll be group calls, but the thing is that it's all hosted on my website, and all the forums and everything for the community are on my website. So if you want to be anonymous, you can be. And that's to protect people who aren't out about their addiction, or domestic violence survivors who are don't want to be on social media and things like that. So you can still join and be a part of the community, participate in the calls and be anonymous that way. But yeah, that's the thing. That's what it is.
That's what we need. And one day you're going to charge for this, aren't you? You're not keeping it free forever.
Well, the workshop is free. Yeah.
Right. Sorry, I've just gone completely into business mode, because this, for you to make a living out of this, we need you to make a living out of this, girl, right? This is so cool. What you're going to do.
Well, if you join the workshop, then you get a cheeky discount because you've been in my workshop. And it launches in the workshop before it launches to the public. But if you want to join just for the public, you can pay annually or monthly. It's $37 a month. It's in dollars, so British people get it for cheaper.
Yeah, no, that's perfect. That's what we want to know. I'm loving this. I'm loving all of this. I love the fact that it is such a good thing to do. The power of the community that I run and we run, and the community that supported us, that is now supporting Ashleigh. I would love you to join. I'm going to obviously harass you to death to join Mint as well. But I think you've got just so much to offer, and not least, we can improve the situation we're in when we realise we have a choice. And for some people right now, they don't realise that yet. They're still in it. They don't realise that there is a choice and there's a different way and there's someone to talk to. There are all those links that Ash has just put up there. There are us three. So last time we did this, me and Ashleigh invited people to get in touch with us. We were literally inundated. Honestly, it's absolutely incredible how many people just come and say thank you, or I listened to that, or you made a difference, or in fact, tell me about your ADHD experiences, because I think I've got a 2, which I'm nearly up to double figures with now. So it's just mind-blowing that sharing that story, and you're a writer, right? You get this. The stories and sharing them help people heal. So not only is your business to heal them, the stuff you do heals you, but sharing it will heal others who don't maybe even know they want healing yet. And that's the beauty of this stuff. That's why I get goosebumps at the fact that we've decided to do this. You know, it is just amazing. Can I just show you? Like, I've been drawing all my notes. So you've got lots of hearts. Look at all of that. Look. So this is my fiddle on. This is you. I've got pages for you. And all of the things I've learned and taken away, I've got pages. Just pages, mate.
You're so sweet. Thank you.
Honestly, I need to go and lie down now. I'm exhausted again. Yeah. So we know where we can find you. That's the point, right? And we can signpost to you. Do you know Claire Owens, the Silverholic? Yeah, cool.
She's got something in my membership.
Yes.
Oh, it sounds amazing. I am so excited about it. And I think this masterclass, you know, the stuff you're doing, the challenge, the program, the membership, I love that you have that opportunity for people to join privately, honoring, you know, their own privacy. They can join in or not. They can go in, you know, a women-only group or an open group or an LGBT group. I love that you've really thought about how to include everyone and the different challenges they may have. I'm so moved by your story, Cici. I'm with Nick. we're gonna have to stop this because I'm like, whew, I can feel, I'm an empath, right? I think we all three are, but like, I'm just vibing so much off your stories, and I'm like, wow, this girl is amazing.
I cried a little. I was not expecting to cry. I'm like, I need to go wash my face and sit in the tub.
Your honesty is so refreshing, and I love it when people share real. You know, we talk about authenticity so much in a business way, you know, how you're authentic for your brand and how you can do this, and this. And people can't quite get that because they're just not quite there for sharing stuff, or they don't want to for whatever reason. There's a myriad of them. And authenticity is a much overused word in relation to branding. But like people who truly are authentic, like you are, you know, it touches, it reaches, it gets in. And once you've heard a story, you can't unhear a story. So, you know, you can't help but listen to what you're sharing and just think, do you know what, there are better ways. And whilst we aren't expert on that, we can all three probably agree that there are better ways. We can all make those choices. So I'm just like blown away by you, mate. Thank you. Thank you for coming on and sharing your story. That's it.
Thank you guys for having me. It's been a blast.
Amazing. Well, thank you so much. I'm going to take you away from the stream now, but big love to you. You were awesome. And I know that this will have inspired so many people. Cici, you are just a rock star. I love you loads. Okay, cool. Thank you.
Mwah, mwah. It's gone.
Okay, she's gone. You're kissing the air. Oh my gosh. I don't know about you. Like, I need to like go and process some kind of energy. I'm like, whoo. That was amazing. I've got a hot rash. I'm all like, whoo, that was That was good stuff. That was an amazing story.
I think that it's just so cool to bring on people who will be completely honest, right? And share that level of honesty for other people to hear, and also I'm sitting there thinking, oh my gosh, how did she get through that? Like you're sort of 14 and you're drinking and the list just, and then another thing. And I'm just like, wow. And selfishly, I'm sitting there going, I need to really remember how lucky I am. And I don't forget that, Ash, we don't forget that. And I know you don't either, but you sitting there sometimes on those days where you're so frustrated with yourself, you're annoyed with yourself, you've forgotten to take your meds, you've done whatever it is. And then you just got to take a minute to go, do you know what? Be grateful for what you do have. That's it, isn't it? Just be grateful for what we have rather than the list of everything that's in very big inverted commas wrong. And I think the more you hear people's stories, you can really grasp onto that,
Absolutely. I want to pick up on what Cici said about connection. I think that's so powerful. And just to be, as we said, authentic and honest about what life is really like in the chaos and the courage and the creativity is, for me, gosh, I forget my meds. I don't know what I'm doing with my life sometimes, but the accountability and the connection of having someone like you, Nicola, who can be like, have you taken your meds today? Like, make an alarm, put it next to your bed, send me a picture. It's so good to have that connection, friendship, support. I think for anyone who's struggling with any difficulty, whether it might be a neurological difference, a mental health difficulty, something they're going through, an addictive challenge, there are people out there who can help you. And, we really hope that tonight has really touched you. Let us know your thoughts in the chat, send private messages. We're really keen to hear what you think. And we will be doing more of these. We've got cool guests to come. So I think that's about all we can say for tonight. What about you, Nick? Anything else you want to say?
I think, are we doing it in a fortnight's time? So I'm looking at a fortnight as the 8th of December. Should we just do me and you and our Christmas? Should we get our Christmas on in a fortnight, Ash?
I think so. Why not? But I'm inspired now. I need to go find some baubles or something dramatic.
We need to just do it over the top as always, just be over the top completely doing that thing. And then, if anybody is listening and you would like to come talk with us, you've heard this, you share what you would like to share, you tell us your story to whatever limit or level you would want to do that. It is daunting for some people, I know, but if you want to just reach out, just get in touch. We want to next year, I think, when we've got our brand sorted and we've got the stuff and all the other bits and bobs that'll go with that, I can see another community forming. I can see the Twitter feed. I can see the Instagram feed. I can see this stuff because if nothing else, I was nervous about doing this. I'm not going to lie. This is probably the most nervous I've been because it's so personal. But listen to Cici tonight. It's like, get over yourself, Nick. Just get this going. Just get the people on. Get stories told. It needs to be done in our way, because we are so authentic ourselves. But, if we can help anybody else by just sharing people's stories and us just blathering on, babe, we've got to do this thing.
Absolutely. I'm so with you there. Well, thank you so much for tonight. I think we should call it an end there, but let's stay, let's turn our chaos courageously into creativity. And 2 weeks time, we're going to come with some sort of dazzles and sparkles, and we'll see you then. So thank you so much, guys, and we'll see you next time. Thank you so much for listening to the Chaos, Courage and Creativity podcast. We'd like to take a few minutes just to say thank you to our sponsors who support us. To Powder Butterfly, who have created a stunning graphic for us and create beautiful bespoke gifts in the United Kingdom, That Branding Company and Blind Sea Photo, who have done our photographs and our graphics. And thank you to TL Multimedia, who support us with editing and production. Don't forget to like, subscribe and comment so you can join us again on the Chaos, Courage and Creativity podcast.